You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
What's going on, U.S. Cellular customers? I've got good news, so don't hit skip, at least not yet. I'm talking about their special customer event, Us Days. What is Us Days? It means exclusive offers just for their customers, just to say thanks, like $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. No, I didn't just misread that. They must really like you. Us Days at U.S. Cellular, exclusive offers just for you, just to say thank you. Right now, U.S. Cellular customers get $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. Terms apply.
Weighing in with soybeans and a baby show straight out of Norburn, Missouri, we have Soybean Festival. From Hayward, Wisconsin, at 73 years young with the world's largest muskie statue, put it together for Muskie Fest. Finally, packing a punch with fire dancing and a pet costume contest, the Roseau, Minnesota Fall Harvest Fest. One of these festivals could win $100,000 in the Cenex Hometown Throwdown. You decide. Cast your vote at CenexHometownThrowdown.com. Cenex, powered locally.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. Text us, 865-658-5824. Join alongside Emilio in Tennessee. We got Tim live in Green Bay. We got Jacob in Wisconsin here to talk a little Packers this evening. Got several topics we're going to hit on and a little bit of family night news as well. So really excited about inching closer to the season here. And how we doing tonight, boys?
Good. Got some rain last night. Cooled down. It was a nice day. Overcast. I'll take it.
Heck yeah, man. Absolutely. Jacob, what have you been doing today, man? Don't lie to me.
I had the day off, which means I only had to go into work for 2 hours. And then I went and got my dad's farm truck. Dude, he's got an old 2000, I think it's a 2010 Chevy Silverado extended cab. It's got 400, and I just was there when it cracked 420,000 miles.
Nice.
Only fitting, right, Emilio?
Change the oil on it, man. You're good.
Music to my ears, Jacob.
The thing is, it honestly is a great truck. And so I rearranged my whole garage today, built some shelves. I mean, this thing, I was going to send Tim a picture because
I wouldn't get it. That's cool.
Well, I don't have freaking Milwaukee tools in my. I got a bunch of cheapy Walmart brands and random stuff that I got passed down. Yeah. But my garage is looking mint. I got a big Michael Scott poster. Like yeah, it was good, man. It was a good day.
That's awesome. I spent the day, part of the day in Appleton today.
That's where I was born.
Appleton. Oh, nice. Yeah, went to the Pick and Save. They did a little fundraiser for the veterans today. So
let's go.
Dropped some food off, made a donation. Feeding America was out there. WAPL radio here in Green Bay was out there broadcasting live. So it was cool cause and great way to spend an afternoon for sure.
That's what's up right there. So obviously family night coming up, guys. This is pretty cool. Green Bay Packers tweeted this out last night. Said tickets for family night presented by Bell & Health go on sale in 1 hour. So they were on sale last night. I'm wondering if they sold out. I still haven't heard anything yet. Not sure if they did or didn't. But family night is always a rocking good time. I told you guys this before. One of my favorite traditions every year is to try to find a stream where I can watch family night down here in Tennessee. And I'm telling you, man, it's like finding a needle in a haystack. But if you do get a hold of one, it's well worth it, man. It's just a scrimmage, and they're throwing balls at nets and stuff like that. But, man, I absolutely love family night. It's just like this official kickoff to the year, right, Tim? You being in Green Bay, I'm sure you can kind of feel the buzz around town too, can't you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a staple. That's like, the unofficial kickoff for sure. And, even if it does sell out, which normally it does, and you can't get tickets, it's still just great to hang around the facility and just be out there. They got the fireworks after practice is over, and it's just a wonderful night. Big family, small family, even if it's just you and one of your buddies, go out and experience it at least once. You gotta do a family night in person for sure up here in Titletown.
Yeah, definitely. Jacob Buss in the chat said, "What's up, Screw 2?" So I do want to say this. You guys know we're coming fresh off the 2-week suspension here we blame Jacob for everything that goes wrong on this show, in case anybody's wondering. But
I wasn't on, I don't think, 2 times.
I was not on either.
It was only me and
Emilio.
Tim screwed it up.
Emilio.
What's hilarious, though, is I got a notification today that second copyright strike that happened on that night, Tim, it got lifted. So we no longer have that second copy. Now, we can't get those 2 weeks back, of course. They don't, no apology there. But
that sounds like some classic.
True international average of pressure.
Right there.
It kind of does. And we'll probably be hearing a little bit of that true international depression not. But we'll see how that goes. But, yeah, so just want to thank YouTube for as Conor McGregor said, absolutely nothing. I'm one of those people that I want an explanation. Like, okay, man, how can we do this better? How can we fix this? Don't worry about it.
Why were you able to drop that one?
Yeah, exactly. Right. So anyway, we're here and ready to talk Packers tonight on YouTube, Rumble, and X. So let's just jump right into the topics. Jacob's been on an absolute banger here lately, man, sending over these articles. And this one was really cool. Kind of well thought out. A little bit, I think they go through several teams in the league, but this was over on MSN.com, and it says 2 Packers studs projected as defensive all-rookie selections in new report. And the article says the Green Bay Packers added not 1 but 2 all-rookie talents to their defense in the 2024 NFL Draft, according to a new report. With Jordan Love poised for a breakout season, Green Bay's offense is expected to be a major problem for NFL defenses this year. It's the Packers' defense, however, that still has some lingering questions, particularly in the secondary. Green Bay will remain vigilant on the free agent market for defensive reinforcements. At the same time, the Packers' secondary and overall defense may require fewer additions than assumed, especially if rookie safety Javon Bullard and rookie linebacker Edgerrin Cooper make immediate contributions. In a report released Wednesday, Chad Reuter, draft analyst for NFL.com, projected that Bullard and Cooper will not only immediately improve Green Bay's defense, but make the NFL defensive all-rookie team in the process. Quote, Bullard can make plays on the ball and secure open field tackles, whether he's lined up deep or inside the box, Reuter said. Defense coordinator Jeff Hafley will have the flexibility to play single high or 2 deep coverage. You ain't allowed to say 2 deep in this fan base, let me tell you right now. Bullard showed a proclivity. Is that right? Did I get that right?
Yes.
I'm learning every day. Proclivity for making big plays in big games during his Georgia career. If he does the same this fall, it should lead to a successful Packers campaign and a spot for him on the all-rookie team. Reuter was equally as adamant about Cooper's, quote, perfect situation in Green Bay. His closing speed and toughness will force offenses to account for him on every play. He and 2022 first-round pick Quay Walker will be the primary linebackers in new defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley's scheme, working inside and outside depending on the formation. Cooper should put up solid numbers across the board as a rookie, picking off a pass or 2, accumulating a few sacks on blitzes, and finishing first or second on the team in tackles. How cool would that be if Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper were number 1 and number 2 in tackles for the Packers, man? I mean, that says had a pretty good defense there in the middle, right, fellas? But Jacob, Javon Bullard, your dude. What'd you think about that article when you found it, man? I appreciate you sending it over, but pretty cool that they're 2 guys they're picking for the all-rookie team, right?
Yeah, and honestly, I could see a situation where either one of the middle linebackers take your pick, and then one of the safeties are number 1 and number 2 for tackles in this defense, just for whatever reason, the way they'll scheme it up. And I wouldn't be surprised after reading that if Cooper ends up being the Mike. And there's just a lot of things I wouldn't be surprised at. Obviously, we haven't hit when we actually have these guys running around with pads on and making actual contact and live, I don't even want to say scrim, but live practices where we'll actually see who's kind of rising to the top and all that sort of stuff. But we've talked about it on so many episodes. We're so deep. We went from such a hindrance at the secondary situation to such a plethora of guys where it's like, man, even if God forbid somebody were to have some sort of injury struggles, obviously Oladapo right now, I'm not even worried about the fact that he may have a little bit of a stumble into his season, into his NFL career, because of the fact that we have Evan Williams, we have Anthony Johnson, we have guys like obviously X and Bullard and a bunch of other guys that maybe could possibly slide in there and play great. So I'm excited. I think the floor for this year is equally as impressively high as our ceiling could be.
Yep. Yeah, no doubt about it. And we talked about it last night, Tim. You fixed the turnover differential issue from last year. I mean, everyone said the same thing. And said, man, if we had picked off 5 of those 7 dropped interceptions, right? Yeah, like Fred McFarley says, 2 was Fred's right there. Yeah. If you just haul in 4 or 5 of those, you climb up that ladder, you probably win 2 more games last year. There's a good chance of that. But what do you think, Tim, about these 2 cats?
I mean, to your point right there, I mean, we win, 2 or 3 more games last year, we're probably winning the division. We didn't lose the division title by that many games to Detroit last year, if I'm not mistaken. And to your point about, Quay and Coop there, I'd almost go as far as to say I'd be willing to bet that those dudes lead the team in tackles this year, with the exception of maybe, McKinney or Javon Bullard or something coming out of that secondary. But I see a, top 10 tandem right there brewing right now in the middle of our linebacking core with Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper. I'm excited to see those 2 guys on the field together. I mentioned this the other night. There's a lot of 1-2 punches, a lot of tandem guys in this defense and on this offense. But really, me being the defensive guy that I am, man, I'm just fired up to see Quay and Coop out there doing it. It's going to be fun. Those guys look like 2 guys that are in sync already. Quay is doing a good job, going into his 3rd year here. He's not a noob. He's not a rookie anymore, and he's not a full-fledged grizzled vet yet. But, he's a guy who's been around the block, and let's not forget, you can call it, not professional all you want. The guy's a champion. Quay won some titles down in Georgia. He knows what it's like to be a part of a championship squad. And I'm looking forward to seeing that leadership emerge in him in year 3 here in the linebacker room.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think for those 2 to excel, Tim, it's going to be huge for the, the front 4 to set the tone, in their aggressiveness and their play, everything. So I think for them to be able to, lead the tackles and all that, we don't want it to be a safety, right? We don't want our corners and safeties to make all those tackles. We want our linebackers to be free to run so that they can make those plays up front. We can have more in coverage. So I think that's great. We have the speed for it. I think Quay's going to step up. I think it's going to be. I think he'll have the dot like we've talked about. I know that him or X will probably have it, and just let him go, man. Maybe now that he's gotten a little older, he can play a little bit more loose. He's got somebody with speed next to him that he's not worried about. As maybe as much he was with Dre and Bullard, man. Like as he started there, Dylan was saying here, it could be huge for Bullard to play the first season besides a seasoned vet like McKinney. I mean, I'm pretty sure I looked last night, he was 4th in PFF ranking for safeties. So, I mean, the dude is top 5 at his position, and we brought in the Bull. So I'm fine with that. Let's go.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. And when the more I hear people say, hey, Xavier McKinney might wear the green dot, the more excited I get. To me, that seems like the play. It really does. He worked for the Giants. Obviously, when we showed the turnover differential or the total takeaways, I should say, from last year, the Giants, I think, were either 1st or 2nd in the league in takeaways. Mm-hmm. Xavier McKinney was piloting that whole process on defense. And not to mention, he was picking the ball off. We showed on the Chalk Talk episode with him where he was just an absolute ball hawk. He'd be playing single high. He'd be showing shell. He'd be showing man coverage on the 2 and then drop back and pick a pass off thrown to the 1. It was just like, this dude's all over the place. So I think if you let him wear the green dot, and I know we spoke about this before, if you let him wear the green dot, man, it just frees Quay's mind completely to just go out there and be the athletic beast that he is, right? I think that could be absolutely huge. Ben Holden said, when was the last time an NFL defense had this much speed? Yeah, it's a great point, man. Because the Packers are definitely one of those teams that this is what they focus on, right? Is athleticism, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Most other teams might take one guy and then they kind of key in on just the intangibles, if you will. Good tackling, good read and recognition, and hey, we'll sacrifice a little bit of athletic ability to get those guys. But the Packers, man, it's just first round. Go get the biggest athletic freak that you can find in the first and second round, right? And just turn them loose.
What did Mike Wall say? How you arrive at confrontation is how you handle confrontation. Yep. So let's hope this defense arrives fast and deals with it fast this year for sure.
John said, you think Brenton Cox Jr. will get playing time? Jacob, let's ask you that question, bub. Because for me, man, I think it's going to be tough for him to get playing time, especially if he's primarily playing the edge position. Now, listen, they kept him on the 53 all year long last year to the best of my memory. So they see a lot in Brenton Cox Jr., man. But what do you think? You think you'll see some playing time, man?
I mean, as much as I want to see Cox rise, I don't think that there's going to be a way that he's going to be able to slip in there and get
just
that
tip, though.
Just because of the fact that the rotation that's in front of him, it's going to have to be special situations where they're going to insert Cox into the game, and it's just going to be one of those things. I don't know if they're going to be able to. Emilio, what's going on, Emilio?
I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
I'd like to see him. I still think that they're going to risk putting him into the practice squad because I think there's a risk that they would lose him. But I think that you'll see a lot of Cox in the preseason. Where'd you?
Bro, really?
He went to the well 3 times. 3 times in one bid. Emilio. So, listen, we just got through talking about how YouTube removed one of those shots.
Hey,
and here you are.
You guys, if you wouldn't stop, making it.
You're an amazing person. You know that, don't you?
I'm just going to start playing that. Every time you mention Brenton Cox,
I didn't do this. First of all.
It was John.
John did it.
There you go, John. All right, so and then Ben Holden, hot to it. Here you go. It's off the rails. So, again, back to what we were talking about before you knuckleheads took it off the rails here. By knuckleheads, I mean the chat. But Edgerrin Cooper last year, PFF grade in college, he was the second highest graded linebacker according to PFF at a 90.8. All right. And to the best of my knowledge here too, not only was he second linebacker, but he was the second defensive player as far as the ranking of PFF grades as well, if I remember correctly. So pretty impressive stuff there from Edgerrin Cooper. Look at my boy Jack Kaiser. He's going to be back with Notre Dame this year. He pretty much graded out very similar to Edgerrin Cooper last year, which Notre Dame's defense should be pretty solid this year. Honestly, man, when you look at Jacob Dobbs, who was number 1 in college football at a 92.2 at the linebacker position, he played for James Madison, right? I mean, he was playing people like me out there in college. Let's be honest here, right? Like fat, out of shape, white dudes. That's who he was running down. Edgerrin Cooper with Texas A&M playing in that SEC. Obviously, he's playing the best of the best that college football's got to offer.
Hey,
so,
you guys see up there? That was some of my dime or what am I trying to say? Dollar store guys. It was Jordan McGee and then Dallas Gant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just saying.
Did Dallas Gant get drafted? Do you remember?
I don't know. I don't know where he went.
Look at my boy Trotter Jr. down there.
Smitty, check us out. It helps out in the chat. Where did Dallas Gant from Toledo get drafted?
Look it up.
I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
So here's the other thing. You mentioned a name just a second ago when we were talking about Javon Bullard, Jacob, and that was Katano Ladapo. Check this out. If we pull the PFF grades for
Vikings. Sorry.
You all right?
Yeah.
Did he really?
Gant got picked up by the Vikings, says.
Oh, that.
Sorry to hear that.
He's dead to me.
Sucks. Yeah. We thought he sucked all along. So,
right, yeah. Jacob, bring him up.
Looks slow.
And then who was it they got my boy gosh, I can never remember his name now. I've already forgot his name. Best safety in the draft. I can never remember.
Newbin.
Bullard's the best safety in the draft.
Who got Newbin? Tyler Newbin.
Oh, there you go. Newbin. Hello, Newbin.
I don't remember who it was. It wasn't Detroit, was it? I don't think it was.
No, Detroit got my guy.
That's Giants got Rakestraw, didn't they?
Yeah.
But anyway, if you look at the safety position here, college PFF grades, look down there in the 47 spot. Okay, that's 47th overall, all right, of all defenders in college football. As we cover it up here, Gant went undrafted. Javon Bullard, 82.8 was the PFF grade. All right, his coverage grade, 88.4 for Javon Bullard. And like Greg Cosell said time and time again, Javon Bullard actually played the majority of his snaps in 2022 in the slot position. So he's got a lot of experience in the slot as well as playing safety. You in that article we just read, and you hear people like Greg Cosell and what is it, Jim Nagy, whatever his name is, that handles the Senior Bowl and all that. He spent a whole lot of time talking about people like Javon Bullard, and everyone talks about how not only can he play the slot, but he can play down the box. He's a good tackler. That's what the tape showed. He's good coverage. Obviously, the grades are there. Just a phenomenal athlete. Now, if you go all the way back up, though, start at the top of the list. You got Sheldon Arnold, Dylan Theinman, Tyler Nubin, Kevin Winston Jr., Hunter Waller, and then you got Ketan Oladapo. So Ketan Oladapo graded out as the 13th best defensive player in college football, I believe. I'm sorry, the 28th best defensive player. Is that right? No, D28? I'm not sure what that means. It says 13, so it's probably 13th overall rank out of Oregon State. 88.3 was his PFF grade. Look at his run defense grade, guys. 91.3 with a coverage grade of an 84.4. Man. So if you were to just say, all right, we're just going to look at the PFF numbers here. That's all we're going to look at, right? And again, I know it's not, the tell-all end. I always got to throw that disclaimer out there because somebody's going, PFF isn't everything. I understand. I agree. But if you were to just look at the data that PFF provided right here.
What's going on, U.S. Cellular customers? I've got good news, so don't hit skip, at least not yet. I'm talking about their special customer event, Us Days. What is Us Days? It means exclusive offers just for their customers, just to say thanks, like $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. No, I didn't just misread that. They must really like you. Us Days at U.S. Cellular, exclusive offers just for you, just to say thank you. Right now, U.S. Cellular customers get $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. Terms apply. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
With threats to our nation waiting around every corner, adaptability is more important than ever. When conditions change without notice, quick strategic thinking is crucial. And with obstacles consistently impending, determination is essential in overcoming them. It's this willingness, decisiveness, and resilience that sets Marines apart. With our fighting spirit, we don't just fight battles, we win them. Marines are the constant our nation counts on to fight the unknown. And through adaptable problem solving, we do just that. Learn more at Marines.com.
You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Lips and Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Lips and Ads. Go to lipsandads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com.
That would suggest Javon Bullard needs to be your cover safety, right? And Ketan Oladapo needs to be your box safety. It's really that simple. And that means Xavier McKinney can be freed up to play post. If you go big nickel, imagine if you go big nickel and you put Javon Bullard in that slot position, right? That slot, that nickel spot, nickel corner there covering the slot receiver. You put Ketan Oladapo in the box, forming kind of that 4-3 and even 4-4 look. If you were to pretend those two safeties were actually linebackers. And then you've got Xavier McKinney, one of, if not the best safeties in the entire league, patrolling center field, calling the plays, calling out the checks, everything. I mean, it's hard not to get excited. We haven't even talked about Evan Williams, who's just an absolute, what is he, Jacob? He's a meat missile, right, sir?
He is a human heat-seeking meat missile.
Huh? So I don't know, man. When you go back now, the dust settled, and you kind of look at some of the numbers, look at the statistics, the analytics. It's hard not to get excited about what this defense could potentially do. And again, what's crazy is they finished 10th in the league in scoring defense last year, guys. Like, it's not like they were a bad defense. Now, if you followed Packers Twitter, you would think they were bottom 5, wouldn't you? I mean, you guys remembered it was horrible last year.
Yep.
They jumped somehow, some way into the top 10, even the top 5 somehow. Holy cow, man. Jordan continues to protect the football. It's on like a neck bone, as we say down here. What do you guys think about Caetano Ladapo, man? I mean, obviously grading out way better than Javon Bullard. Obviously, Javon Bullard carried a little more value having that. I think he went higher because he carries more value because he could play the slot. But let's go around the horn with that right there. If Emilio's got it back together now. Emilio, are you good now, bud?
Yeah, I'm together. I was just pulling up Evan Williams' numbers. He looks like they have 155 with a 76 overall grade, 72 on the run defense, 89.1 on the pass rush, and a 72.2 coverage.
What was his pass rush grade again?
70 or 89.1.
That's wild right there. I mean, just literally walk him up on the line and fire him at the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
You guys want a good chuckle, go back and watch Evan Williams and the Oregon Ducks play Caleb Williams last year at USC. Bro, he harassed the absolute hell out of Caleb Williams all night. It was awesome, man. Caleb thought he was going to do the little twisty doos and, throw him off. Okay, I'm going to go off platform. Evan Williams was not having it, man. It was awesome.
The only other guy with the pass rush, I mean, there's a couple other, but DTD, Taylor Demerson's 91.3. So,
and he ended up in Arizona, right?
Yeah.
I think Arizona did pretty good in the
Week
draft.
6, man. The mountains. We get DTD. I'm excited.
Tim, you got anything to add to that talk there with Javon Bullard, Caetano Ladapo, and Edgerrin Cooper? Anything at all, man?
I think with Oladapo, it's just keep an eye on this injury in the rehab and see how he progresses because, the more exposure he gets to camp and the preseason, the better, pending that he's back on the field with meaningful snaps in time for that. Otherwise, you got to push his progression back in his rookie season. We saw what happened with Jordan Love. We had the COVID year. He kind of got cheated out of a preseason his rookie year, and that kind of, I don't know if it stunted his growth, but it certainly probably made him feel a sense of urgency as a young player to kind of get with the program and get his NFL playing shape up to par quicker. So, with Oladapo, we know he can contribute. It's just a matter of when and how much and how quickly he's going to get himself up to NFL speed, Yeah,
definitely. All right. Another thing that came down the pike here, Paul Brettel put an awesome article out on LVN. I thought this was really cool. It said the experience Lukas Van Ness has gained over the last year, coupled with a defense under Hafley that suits his skill sets well, will be a catalyst for a year 2 leap. I'm excited about Lukas, quote, end of quote there from Matt LaFleur. Now, when you dive into the article a little bit further, and again, go follow at Paul_Brettel. Share this article. Paul is – it doesn't matter if it's in the dead of the offseason. Paul is putting out content. He's doing the work. I'm so excited to watch that dude succeed at his craft because he's one of the nicest gentlemen on the face of the earth, comes on the show a lot, and, man, he just never stops working. Love the work he does. So in this article, this is what it said. Quote, I'm excited about Lukas, said Matt LaFleur. And I think a lot of times you see a lot of those guys that are pass rushers take a huge jump from year 1 to year 2. So he's a guy that puts puts in a ton of work. I think his body looks great. I think it's unfortunate that he broke his thumb, but he's getting more time.
Just the tip, though.
It was just the tip. That's actually the soundbite, isn't it? Holy cow. I forgot all about that. So when he broke his thumb, that was the soundbite right there. They said he broke his thumb. Yeah, just the tip, though.
I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
Same press conference. But he's getting more time out there, and he's somebody that we're certainly excited about. Paul Brettel goes on to say, along with Van Ness, LaFleur really likes the depth that the Packers have along the defensive front. This was a unit that ran hot and cold last season, totaling 7 games where they pressured the quarterback more than 45% of his dropbacks, along with 7 games where they generated pressure only on fewer than 30% of the snaps. A year 2 leap from Van Ness, which many successful NFL players make, can go a long way in adding consistency to the pass rush unit and the opportunity to do so appears to be available. Now, we talk about if you grade out in the 60s, typically on PFF, you end up being a pretty good pro, right? I'm pretty sure LVN finished at like 60.5 or 60.3, if I remember correctly. So
65%. 65%. That's what
all signs are pointing toward LVN being a solid pro. And obviously year two, again, I said this the other night, the thing that stood out to me the most about LVN, the game didn't seem too big for him. And there were so many times that you could tell players on the other side of the ball, the other team, was trying to be a little bit of a bully, pulling people off the pile, and who would come in there and clean it up? LVN, like, get the hell out of here, man. Yeah. And as a rookie, says a lot. Again, I'm not saying he's going to be a player at the JJ Watt caliber. I'm just saying he puts off the same type of vibes, those same JJ Watt type vibes, as far as exactly correct. Yeah. So LVN, what do you guys think about what he may or may not do here in year two, man? It's Preston Smith's going to drop off sooner or later, right? And the contract is structured in a way that we can get out of it if we need to. And I'm not trying to run Preston out of town. He was arguably one of our best defensive players last year. And maybe that's why LVN's poised to take another step, is because he's learning behind somebody like Preston, right? But the thought of a peak LVN, right, like a prime LVN stepping into, all right, this dude's starting to finally get it, alongside Rashawn Gary, who's healthy with the knee now, woo, sky's the limit. Mm-hmm. I don't care who goes first, man. What do you guys think about LVN?
Hand it in the dirt, just like we said about Rashawn the other day. I'm looking forward to seeing him play with his hand in the dirt in this Hafley system. I'm sure he'll probably be moved around a little bit. And I certainly agree with your statement, Clayton, that the game wasn't too big or too fast for him as a rookie. We saw him chasing down Justin Fields. We saw him making a couple of really, key stops. And, also saw him holding the edge a lot. We saw him hold the edge a lot last year, which is good. Sometimes guys got a little deep on their rushes, and guys were able to get around to the outside. So I think if he makes that second year leap, I think people that are doubting him are going to change their tune really quickly. I've heard a lot of people say that, he's just an average, guy and that kind of thing. Something about LVN strikes me as above average. And I don't know if that's just the size and the strength, but he didn't look too much like a rookie last year. He had his moments, but I think for all intents and purposes, he's on the right trajectory to have a solid career.
Definitely. Fred McFarley in the chat said it's not all about RAS, but how does LVN compare to Bosa? And our good buddy Fred McFarley went and ran the numbers here. Bosa 9.44 RAS, LVN 9.75. Again, RAS doesn't measure instincts, heart, but the physical tools are there. I remember them saying something else too, that there was, I remember Ryan saying this on his pod on Packernet podcast. He said something, there was a certain, I don't know if it was a certain 40 time with size combination.
Yes.
There was some, is that what it was, Jacob? There was something that was like the only two people on the face of the earth that's played in the league that had those two same measurables or, exceeded those was LVN and Bosa, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. It was something crazy like that.
Yeah. So, LVN, obviously, Jacob Emilio, get anything on him?
Dude is going to be a freak. You can see he's built like a truck. So, Jacob knows what it's like driving one of those around now. It's a mean machine. Am I right?
Wide load.
And he's not going to have to contain as much. Like Tim was saying, he was good. He was decent at it. He reined in fields, all of that. But let him just go after one gap. Let him just, play football again. And I think that's going to be big. They're going to be aggressive in that rotation. It's crazy that at some point we're going to have to make a decision on, Wyatt's fifth-year option, Quay's, and we got LVN's coming up. All that stuff's like you're looking ahead, and it's like, okay, is this guy going to show up this next year, or are we going to have to, force him on so that we know by year 3, hey, we're gonna extend him, whatever. So I think Wyatt's coming up on that, and LVN by next year would be in the hunt for that. So I think that he does need to show up, but he's got every stat in the book that could do it. But I think heart and instincts is going to be one of those you can't measure that needs to show up.
Yeah, I think too what we're forgetting is that when Gary came out, he had a lot of promise, almost same type of thing, really highly drafted guy, kind of a raw talent that was high RAS. What he did when he came in is he did kind of what LVN's doing similarly. He's sitting behind two great edge defenders. When we had Gary, he was sitting behind Za'Darius and Preston, the two Smith brothers, right? The Smash Bros when they came in. Now what he had to do now is sit behind Smith and Gary, and he's going to probably not see as many snaps as he probably would like this year, but it's going to be an excellent second year jump or second year growth period where he can get more snaps between him and Enigbare. And obviously my boy Cox bringing it up the rear. They can just come and kind of make that whole rotational group just be a really well-rounded group to the point where you can be interchangeable. And depending on the down and distance, you have specialty guys that you can slide in that are more of like specialty type.
Yeah. There you go. Appreciate that. Always. Dylan in the chat said there's been a lot of talk in the media about players being better suited for Hafley's new defense than they were for Barry's. What's the difference in body/skill types between the two defenses? They're really – it doesn't matter what defense you run in the league. And, again, I'm sure those people that say that, you know, we can agree to disagree. It's totally cool. I'm not saying I'm right and they're wrong, but the main thing that changes between a Jeff Hafley defense and the defense we just come out of is we're going to be showing less too high pre-snap looks. And the other thing is you're now going to potentially have 3 stack backers when you're in a base defense. The problem is we're in the nickel a large majority of the time. And again, I know you guys have heard me say this, but I'm just answering Dylan's question here. If you're in the nickel defense, you know, anywhere from 75 to like 83% of the time, we're still running the same look, guys. We're going from a nickel 2-4-5 to a nickel 4-2-5, which is the same thing. The only difference is Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith are now going to be defensive ends as opposed to outside linebackers, but they're going to be lining up the same way. Mm-hmm. And some people will know their hand's going to be in the dirt now. Go back and watch BC. Go back and watch the Jets last year. You know, you guys remember I showed you that 4-3 overlook that they ran the other day against the Patriots? Well, one of their backers, lo and behold, on the outside, they're what would technically be their right end, if I remember correctly, from the defense's perspective, left end from the offense's perspective. He was standing up. You had 3 down linemen, and that other, you know, whatever you want to call it, 5 to 7 to 9 tech was standing up like our backers did. So to a certain extent, even that part isn't really going to change. So right. I think the big difference is going to come with when we played the clip the other day of Terrell Buckley, you know, the former Packer great, was talking about how Hafley is going to coach more scheme. He's going to coach more scheme. I think the reality is Joe Barry said, hey, you guys are good enough. Go out there, use your instincts and make a play. And I think he was wrong because we were dropping interception. Guys were late to the point of attack. So maybe Hafley will be, I don't want to say more of a micromanager, but he'll be more hell-bent on, you know, coaching scheme, coaching the little things, picking up on the little nuances as opposed to just being kind of passive and letting things come to him. I think that's going to be the biggest difference, Dylan. And again, I'm not saying there's not a difference in body type or skill types, but I mean, when you look at these guys, Kenny Clark's going to stay about the same weight. He's still a defensive tackle. Right. He's going to be playing the same exact thing he played in that nickel 2-4-5 in the nickel 4-2-5. The same thing with a Devontae White, unless they slim him down and put him at defensive end. But Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith, LVN, those guys are going to be rushing the edge the same thing they did in our nickel 2-4-5 last year. So.
Bare bones. If you rip it down to a 3-4, technically there would be like a nose tackle, but besides that, really not much different. You still need your you still need your D tackles, you still need your edges. All of that. But Clayton, go back to move the sticks. Bucky was talking about the safety or the secondary today, I believe, or yesterday. And he was saying nowadays that nickel position has become a starting position rather than a afterthought, right? You're looking at corners that can, one, you know, be a starter in the nickel that can handle the outside island, or are we looking at corners that can only handle the outside island? We need someone that can do both. That's why I think, you know, the Packers gave it a shot at safety, taking a couple of chances so that nickel role could be filled either by a corner that can handle it or a safety that can grow into it.
Yeah. Definitely. And, it's like, it was something that Michael Lombardi said the other day that kind of triggered a thought just now. Oh, the NFL used to be about down and distance. First down, all right, 1st and 10, we're playing 4-3 or we're playing a 34. If it's 2nd and 8, we're probably going to stay in our base. If you get into a 3rd and short, you're going to be in your base because you're thinking down and distance. We need to stop the run here. If you get in a situation where it's, 3rd and 8, all right, we're going to go to our nickel subset now. But now what's happening today is you just simply match personnel. And when I say that, I know some people are going, oh, wow, so that just happened. No, that's been going on since the early 2000s. It's just people are just starting to pay attention to that, where teams are actually matching personnel. That's why when you hear us say on Chalk Talk, 11 gun or 12 ace, we're giving the personnel, first number is the running back, the second number is the amount of tight ends. So if it's a 12 look, it's 1 running back, 2 tight ends. That typically triggers your base defense, right? So you're going to match up a 34 front or a 43 front against that 12 look. If they're an 11 personnel, that's just a quick way for the defense to relay the message, 11, right? Everyone knows 11 equals 3 wide receiver sets. Therefore, you need 5 DBs on the field, 2 safeties, 3 corners to be able to cover those receivers effectively. If you play it down in distance of the 1st and 10 and they come out in 11 personnel and you go, I'm going to play a 4-3, you've now got a backer or a safety matched up on a wide receiver. And we know when they're in 11 personnel, if they decide to go with a trips look and flex the Y, they go speed to 3, your safety / linebacker is absolutely cooked. That's what's happened. So
he was saying personnel and formation, right?
Yes.
That's a key now. We're not going down in distance anymore.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And it's just little things like that where the game changes, but it's also very cyclical. Like what you're seeing now, a little while back in the early, really right around 2010, the spread offense took over in the league, right? That's what McCarthy ran. That's what Sean Payton ran. So they'd run these spread offenses, so everybody started leaning on sub packages a little bit more. Well, the Patriots went on their little dynastic run, the back end of their dynastic run, and what happened there? They were playing a lot of 12 personnel. So people were having to mix in more of these hybrid looks and more of these base looks to stop their attack with those 2 tight end sets, right? Because they could run out of it just as effective as they could, pass the ball out of it with the great tight ends they had before they went on killing sprees. That's a sort of another day. But so everything's kind of cyclical. It comes and goes. Right now, what we're at, the best defenses in the league, like your New York Jets, your San Francisco 49ers, people like that, in most cases, they're going, when they're in base defense, we don't think teams will stick with the run now. It's what cost the Kansas City Chiefs the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, is because they wouldn't stick with the run. And basically what teams were doing, especially in the playoffs there, they were going, you know what? We don't think you'll run the ball. You want to pass it too much. So we're going to stay in nickel. And in some cases, we're going to mix in a little dollar and a little dime look. And when they do that and you don't run them out of it, you're playing right into the teeth of the defense. So that's why most teams are like the Jets played. I think they played nickel 81% of the time last year. So, and again, somebody will wisen up and they'll smack those teams in the mouth. And then the old way of thinking will come back. The league is just really, really cyclical in that way. So
from spread to 12 to 11, probably working back to 12 and 13 now, catching tight ends, things like that, being able to run out of the heavy sets, because what's happening, a lot of defenses are going lighter, faster to keep up with all the passing game. So,
yeah, no, absolutely, man. Ben Holden in the chat said, will LVN get more playing time than Preston? That's a great question. And I hope he does, and I'm going to explain why. I don't have Preston's contract information pulled up, but look at LVN's. We drop that down real quick here.
Have you ever experienced turbulence on a flight and wondered why?
And you can see all the terrain around you. You've got no issue with visibility or anything?
No, everything's peachy.
Maybe you've sat on the tarmac for hours wondering why your plane isn't moving.
Well, we're outside here. They're saying the ramp is closed. They won't let us park because of Air Force One.
Listen in on the conversations between pilots and air traffic controllers on the Air Traffic Out of Control podcast.
510, declaring an emergency. There's smoke in the cabin. I need to make a landing right now on 31 left.
We have the most interesting, wild, and funny ATC recordings you will ever hear. Check out Air Traffic Out of Control wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
LVN's contract, he's in year 2 of 4. let's say that he does beat out Preston Smith and he gets 60% of the snaps and Preston Smith gets, 30% of the snaps. Let's just play along here. If that's the case, his cap hit this year, $3.9 million against the cap. 2025, $4.7 million against the cap. 2026, $5.5 million against the cap. Tim, this is why you want LVN to take that next step, right? Because this is one of the most expensive positions. I think it actually is the most expensive position on the defensive side of the ball, with the exception of maybe a true 3 technique on the defensive line. But if you can get LVN to hit this year, bro, this is setting yourself up the same way we're kind of zigging while everyone else is zagging at the wide receiver room, having a very cheap wide receiver room. If you could pull this off in the edge position room too, because LVN ends up being a stud, the sky's the limit, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. And, the thing with as far as LVN getting, more snaps than Preston, I think you're seeing that's kind of the plan, right? I mean, that's why we drafted LVN last year. We know Preston is, getting older, but he's still playing effective football. So I think what you're going to see is a lot of rotation. I think you're going to see probably more of LVN on the field this year than you did last year, but you're still going to see a lot of Preston Smith, as we should. He's a big time contributor to our defense as well. But when it comes down to it, I think this is the year that they're going to, increase the reps for LVN, and he should see more action slowly but surely. And here's the other thing. We know there's always curveballs. Guys get hurt, guys get banged up. Sometimes guys get suspended. Things happen.
Right.
So there could be any number of reasons why we'll see more LVN, but I think the big factor is it had to be part of the long game. When Goody drafted him, we brought in a new DC, this year. I just think this is the perfect time. If I'm LVN right now, I'm excited. I'm chomping at the bit for this year because all I got to do is go out and continue to work hard, and I'm going to get my opportunities. It's going to happen. So I would look for him to make a step in year 2 for sure.
He's put in all that work up to this time, Tim. You might as well make the most of it, man, and you got to, what was Brady saying? Play every snap like it's your last. You got to give every snap 110% because you don't know. Yeah. It could be the difference.
And you can see in his game, he's cut from that cloth. I mean, we saw him steamrolling offensive tackles in college film. So, I mean, he's ready for sure, I would say. So I think it's just a natural thing this year. Preston Smith is going to contribute, but, LVN might contribute a little bit more than he did last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry. Guys, I just want to say, I hate to be the guy that does this, but Rumble has apparently been completely shut down right now. It's to the point where you can't even load anything on the page. There's not a single person that can comment on Rumble right now. You can't access any of their highest grossing pages right now. There's no coincidence that this is happening on the night of the election. So that's just kind of scary and messed up. So,
we're actually watching it on Rumble on my phone right now. We're still live on Rumble, but it does sound like I'm wondering if they're getting like crazy traffic too.
Yeah. So I hope that's it. Yeah, it could be. But I sent you guys a screenshot in the group chat, which people are sending me, is that it's basically says it's offline.
Gotcha. Vince doesn't like it. All right, cool. So obviously we're still live on X and YouTube if you guys want to continue watching, but hopefully that'll get straightened out because I'm showing on my end there's not team watching on Rumble, and again it's in real time right now on my phone. But again, I've been on it the whole time, so if somebody new tries to hop on, maybe or if you bounce.
I think you can tell by our chat that it kind of fell off about 10-15 minutes ago.
Got it. Cool. All right, so back to the LVN talk here. So with the LVN contract, this is what I meant about the whole press. Listen, this in no way, shape, or form is this slander towards Preston Smith. All right. I think Preston Smith was one of the most underrated players in the league last year. That dude carried our defense from week to week.
You could argue he's been underrated his whole career.
Yes, I completely agree. And, playing in different systems too. And, like we talked about, when you're in a 34 jam front, one of those outside linebackers is going to have to drop into coverage from time to time. That's just that goes with the territory. That has happened since since John Madden created the 34 defense in the 70s. It's always been like that. Football is a numbers game.
Yep.
It's a numbers game, and you're defending and attacking space. It's really that simple. So the fact that Preston Smith was the one that was kind of picked that, hey, when we do have to drop into coverage, we're just going to bring 4 on this play and we want 7 in coverage, then we're going to drop Preston Smith into coverage and let Rashawn Gary rush, just shows you how unselfish of a player he really is, right? And I think he played great. But I just want to kind of paint you a picture. Let's just assume that LVN hits this year. He goes out for 10-plus sacks. His pressure rate is better than Preston's, this and that. And listen, this is the other thing about Preston Smith being a great Green Bay Packer. That dude has taken 2 pay cuts in a row now. Now, keep in mind that with the 2 pay cuts, they've also gave him guaranteed money with it to kind of sweeten the pot for him, right?
Right.
But at the same time, if you look at LVN, and let's say he hits this year, that cap hit that you see in 2025 of $4.7 million, right? $4.7 million cap hit in 2025. Let's say he overtakes Preston Smith. Look at Preston Smith's numbers in 2025. His cap hit is $17.5 million. Now look at the dead cap attached. The dead cap is 9.8. What does that mean? If LVN hits and you've still got Enigbare and Brenton Cox Jr. rises to the occasion, that would have made Jacob proud right there. If Brenton Cox Jr. Shows up and you're okay at the edge position, maybe they play Devontae White at defensive end some, whatever the case may be. You can go to Preston Smith and say, hey, we need you to take another pay cut. And if he says no, rightfully so, hey, you go get your money somewhere else. By cutting Preston outright, you're going to free up, let's see what it is here in 2025, $17.5 million, and there's 9.8, let's just call it 10. You're going to free up a little over $7 million in cap space by cutting Preston Smith. So you've got your edge defender of the future. This, again, is if LVN just absolutely balls out this year and you no longer need Preston Smith's services, then you're in a much better situation to go to him and go, hey, man, we need to shave this cap hit down. And like I said, if he doesn't accept it, let's don't be the spoiled brats that we've been in the past and try to dog players for wanting to get their money, right? They need to get paid. But that's how Goody's got this contract set up. And then let's say if they do decide to keep him in 2025 and you decide in 2026, now we're going to let him loose because, again, if we flip back to the LVN contract in 2026, he's only $5.5 million against the cap, and he's due for a 5th-year option if you want to go that route. Look at the cap hit in 2026 for Preston Smith. $18.2 million. Dead cap, $5.7 million. So if you cut him before the 2026 season, you're going to free up $13 million in cap space. So this is how Goody likes to structure contracts to where you get guaranteed money out of the way early, and then for some reason they drop off. I mean, Preston Smith, guys, he's 32 years old.
Yeah, but if anyone's going to take a restructure,
it's him.
It's probably him. And I could see him playing effective football until, 36, 37, if he really wanted to, even on the low end. So I think the contract is the only thing that could end his time in Green Bay. But I also think that, he might play on the A.J. Dillon team-friendly type of restructure as he gets, towards the later ends of his career here.
Yeah. And what would that restructure look like? So in 2025, if they go to Preston and go, hey, look, we need to shave this cap number down here. If you look at the structure of his contract, he's due $12 million in base salary. He's due that's pretty much it. There's no roster bonus. So it's $12 million in base salary, 2.4 in signing bonus, 1.6 in restructure bonus. Okay. So they could go to him in 2025 and say, you know what, Preston, how about this? How about we guarantee half of that base salary? All right. So if you guarantee half of that base salary, you now convert 6 of that $12 million to signing bonus. You write him a $6 million check, and then you could drop that remaining $6 million down to, say, the veteran minimum of, let's just call it, for easy math, let's say $2 million. You're shaving $4 million off the cap, and you're keeping Preston Smith with that veteran presence.
Yeah.
That's what we call cash over cap, right? That's when we talk about cash over cap, you're talking about converting base salary to guaranteed money or a signing bonus, okay? And when you do that, the reason they call it cash over cap is because you're saying we're going to sacrifice cash payment to you, guaranteed money, to free up cap space. We're taking cash. You're taking cash over cap, essentially. Go ahead, Emilio. I'm sorry, man.
No, all I was going to say was, and this problem we have, this is the oldest dude on the team. You know what I mean? Like this is the one contract we're worrying about because of age and the peak of his career and all of that stuff. So he's obviously coming down the other side of the mountain. But as long as he holds, I wouldn't be opposed to keeping him around for another year or two. And I think that Ron said it right there. He knack to make the big play when needed. I also think Iron Miner here. It would be big. Getting him a Super Bowl would be huge. You never know what happens in a moment like that. If the Super Bowl was what he needed to call it quits, hey, then, the decision's made for you. And that everyone coming out saying that they're not paying him enough and didn't offer him enough wouldn't have to make the decision. So I think that Preston's going to be around for this year, and obviously this year, and then hopefully another year or two, depending on how he holds up.
Yeah,
I agree.
No doubt.
Smitty had a good point in the chat here too. Lower snap count.
Yes,
might help keep him as effective as he has been for the long term.
Those hockey lines.
Yeah, that's exactly. Huge. And it's not, again, this is not a shot at Preston Smith at all. Dude is still at the top of his game and has been throughout his career. He's been as consistent at the position as anyone else in the league. And, I forgot who else mentioned this in the chat, but, talking about, I believe it was Deadfish that brought it up that, it was Ron Sandville. Preston always has a knack to make the big play when needed. That really struck a chord with me because it's so true. How many times have we seen a batted ball at the line of scrimmage right when you need it the most? Or how many times do you see him just beat his man when, if he doesn't, we're roasted? He just comes up with the big clutch plays, and that can't be understated. So I think, maybe a slight reduction in the snap count to give a young kid in LVN a chance to, make that second year step. I think this benefits us, all across the board. It's a win-win.
Use the young guy for the manual labor. Let him run the first and second downs, and put Preston in on those experienced third down situations. I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and like Ron said here in the chat, man, Preston has always had a knack to make the big play when needed. It's so true, man. Yep. He really stepped up big time last year. 2-0 for this in the chat said, I'm voting for Mark Murphy so we can have a seamless transition to president of the Packers of the Packers to the president of the United States. There you go. I don't think Mark Murphy's interested in being the president of the United States. I don't think anyone with two brain cells that rub together is interested in being the president of this crazy country right now. So that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. I'm sure I am. Smitty says, like you said, a lower snap count for Smith. Mm-hmm. And I love that comment. I really do, because it's so true, man. It is so true. Like, imagine that dude with fresh legs in the fourth quarter when that tackle's breathing heavy and he's been dealing with that corn-fed LVN just smacking him in the mouth all game. And then you look up and there's Preston Smith, hasn't only rushed 3 times. Good luck. Good luck. So it's just, again, it's a testament to Brian Gutekunst and the roster he's built, man. The depth he's created is just
good. I think it's going to be really cool diving into the numbers the first game. Like, let me see how many reps each of them are getting. I think we're just going to just burn it down to the absolute bottom file, man. We're going to try to figure out what the rotation is, percentage. We need to figure this out and kind of how Halfley's going to run this thing.
Yeah. You talk about those third downs too. I mean, that's so crucial because Preston's one of those guys that's not a liability with the, the neutral zone infractions and the crazy penalties. He's a fundamentally sound veteran player that, those mistakes are few and far between with him, and all the more reason to have him out there during crunch time for sure.
Right. And he can play coverage. We saw that last year. The dude can cover.
Yep.
But we can drop him.
Maybe not one-on-one with Justin Jefferson, but
No, Tay Adams. I like the Tay Adams matchup a little bit.
That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Just like, and if you know what's happening on the field, it's not like, oh my God, what are we doing? You go, hey, they got us here. You either call a timeout or you try to hold on for dear life because you're in a 34 look. They flexed the running back out. They caught you in a situation where you're out. Your OLB now has to drop back. Try to cover. Just seeing him line up from. He looked at Tay. He looked at the quarterback. He looked at Tay, and it's just like.
Yeah, and Tay Adams looked at his quarterback and looked across the line and said,
"Bro, really?
You better get me that ball." I want to read this real quick. We're going to get out of here. This came in from Dylan, one of our loyal listeners. He's actually in the chat earlier. actually sent me this message on the text line, 865-658-5824. He said, "Hey, what's up, Clayton? I'm hoping I got your number right. This is Dylan Bergen. Hopefully you recognize my name from the few YouTube comments I put up on a stream, but just wanted to tell you I'm driving around in the loader at work listening to the episode that dropped yesterday, and I got so excited as soon as you said week 7 when you were talking about that game of the year, talking about basically Packers Texans at Lambeau. It says, funny story, I'm getting married this weekend, and I have a group chat with my groomsmen, but apparently my groomsmen have a chat without me too. So this past Sunday, I get a notification from the group chat, and my buddy Rob says, quote, hey, those tickets for the game we bought for Dylan are for on October 20th, right? And I went straight to the Packers schedule. He was so pissed off that he sent it in the wrong chat, but my fiance, drop this down real quick. Where's it at? Thank you. Said, but my fiance and I were through the roof. He went on to say, I actually messaged him back and I said, this is awesome, Dylan. Do you mind if I share this with the group? He said, no, absolutely, go for it. And thank you. I appreciate it. Like I've mentioned before, I'm from Ontario, so the closest games to go to for me are Buffalo and Detroit. And I actually went to Week 17 win over the Lions in 2019 with my dad. But I'm glad I'll be at Lambeau this time around watching this totally different version of the Packers for my second game. Dylan, congratulations, dude. That's absolutely awesome. These are the type of stories that I just love hearing from listeners, man. Like it's going to be his first trip to Lambeau Field.
Mm-hmm.
Week 7, CJ Stroud versus Love. Bro, enjoy it. And congratulations, man, on the wedding. And best decision I ever made, man. I'm sure it'll be the best decision you ever make. So congratulations on that. You guys got anything else? I know we're over on time here a little bit. We're going to wrap up a little early, so let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. Tim, you got anything, bub?
What a cool way to find out, right? Like,
yeah.
who cares that they screwed up the surprise?
It makes it even better, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. It's all the more sweeter. So, yeah, congrats for sure. No, that's awesome. I love it.
Definitely.
Emilio, you got anything, bub?
Nothing, man. Congrats. It was a blast going to the first time. We got stomped by the Jets. So,
that was your first game, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they got bullied, too.
That was my first game sitting row 1, 50-yard line behind the Packers bench.
I was row 2 on the 20-yard line behind the Packers.
So we were like right there and didn't even know each other at the time. It's crazy, right?
Didn't even know.
That's awesome.
I love it. All right, guys, we're out of here. We appreciate everybody hanging out with us. This was a lot of fun. We'll be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central Time to talk more Packers. We'll have some cool topics queued up for you on that. So, Tim, if you would help me out here, bro.
For those of you listening on the pod,
thank you for making us a part of your day. Thank you to all the Patreon members. You guys are absolutely awesome. You're kind of the motor that makes this thing go. Appreciate y'all supporting the stream. And again, we're going to do a giveaway here real soon. I got to get everything organized, but we'll get that squared away. If you're a Patreon member of one of the 3 tiers, then we're going to put your name in a drawing to win some really cool Packer memorabilia coming up here real soon. We try to do that pretty much year round, but the channels are growing like crazy, and it's all because the conversations that happen in the chat has nothing to do with us, has everything to do with how cool this fan base is. And it's just absolutely awesome that in the dead of the off season, we got plenty to talk about because we got educated Packer fans in the chat and everybody just kind of leaning on each other. And I love how everyone gets along. It's a really cool community. I'll just leave it at that. So as always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world, and go Pack Go.
True and international effort to pressure.
America's favorite place to watch football is Stadium Swim. Located at the Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. Catch all the biggest games at a viewing experience built for sports fans. Chill in one of our 6 pools on 3 different levels for a perfect view of our massive screen. Plenty of seating options from cozy day beds to private temperature-controlled cabanas. Stadium Swim. Book your spot today at circalasvegas.com.